who he has picking the Spurs picking at number 9 is Jalen Duren. And so I know that I've even mentioned that I didn't really like necessarily his March Madness performance. I watched him. I was like, maybe it's just DeAndre Jordan. But when I read Givenoy's kind of explanation here, it does give me a little bit more of, I guess, a boost on my opinion of Jalen. So obviously 6'10", physical, but he's the youngest player in the draft from America. Let me actually say that. Not the youngest player in the draft, but the youngest American player in the draft, 18 and a half years old. So there's that kind of similar primo type, age appeal to him. But the main reason that he talks about him is because his two biggest questions, I believe, is obviously his jumper and his I forget what the other one is, but he mentions Chip England. Obviously, that's one thing that could be maybe mitigated when joining the Spurs. And then I think he just says with Popovich developing Duren every day in practice. I can't find where it is right now, but there was another little thing that basically he could get better at that would specifically work with Popovich. I think it's just physicality, unlocking that 100% of the time, getting the motor, because when you watch some of his alley-oops and stuff like that at Memphis, definitely a lot of energy. But the other thing that he does mention, and this is a little bit off topic, is Jakob Pertl demanding a healthy raise off his bargain $9.4 million salary as a 27-year-old next summer. So he's going into his prime. If, in all honesty, like, we're choosing Devin Primo or Keldon over Jakob to pay, right?
Yes.
So that is the big appeal here of Jalen Duren. He's probably the next best big guy. Obviously, there's a drop off, but he's probably the next best like center other than Chet in the draft, right? And I
Yeah.
think also with the Spurs kind of team, they don't need somebody that's necessarily going to be a floor spacer. Like, it would be nice, but if they can get somebody at the 4 later in this draft, which we'll see, or just even in free agency, like a Kyle Anderson type, I think that they can kind of run this like 4 guys who can shoot around a run, jump, and dunk athletic center, as we saw with Jakob. He just didn't have, he doesn't have enough size next to him that would help. But 250 pounds, a 75 or a 7'5" wingspan. He's drawn some comparisons to Dwight Howard. Just somebody who's super athletic, can leap, lob catching, shot blocker, and being a rim protector. And we just also, I think with Popovich, what I was getting at earlier that I didn't really explain well was that, like, Popovich knows how to develop bigs specifically. So he could unlock a lot more, low post moves and post game for Duren, being in the Spurs throughout his rookie contract. What are your kind of thoughts on Givenoy thinking about Jalen Duren at number 10?
I'm warming up to the pick. I know earlier in the year I was like really hesitant to pick him at 9 because ideally at that spot you would hope to find somebody with superstar potential that you're like, there's pretty much a guarantee that he will eventually be an all-star. And with Jalen Duren, we both agreed that seemed less likely because he's just kind of a very athletic run, jump, and dunk center, as you said. Not a lot of low post skill. It seemed just a very big and high energy and aggressive center that can block shots. But at this point, you have to ask yourself, that's pretty much what Jakob is. But Jakob is not as athletic, right? So you would say
he's
that
also
Jalen...
not 18 and a half. And the
Exactly.
two areas that, like, here's the difference between Duren and Jakob also. Like, there's potential for Duren in the low post, and there's
Yeah,
potential for him as a shooter, where
correct.
there's not that for Jakob, as much as we
Unfortunately,
love
yeah.
him.
Now the only thing is I haven't watched enough tape on Jalen Duren to know how good of a passer he is because Jakob Pertl is an underrated passer and he
Mm-hmm.
understands how to move the ball and he understands how to be in the right place at the right time. With a young center like a Jalen Duren, I don't know how good he'll be or how fast he'll be able to pick that skill up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's safe to say in the pick and roll with DJ, he'll be dangerous. Otherwise, it's hard to say how much of an impact he'll have offensively right off the bat. But I didn't even think about that Dwight Howard comparison because that is a pretty good comparison. Because coming out of high school for Dwight Howard in 2004, he had almost no skill except for dunking the ball. And he played power forward because Dwight Howard's only 6'10". He didn't even
Mm-hmm.
play center for the first couple years. And then Stan Van Gundy surrounded him with Hito Turkoglu and Jameer Nelson and shooters like that and JJ Redick, and their offense just went through the roof. So if that's what his potential is, I am completely open to taking Jalen Duren at that spot.